Hi, I'm Shannon from HomemadeLovely.com. In this video, we're going to show you how to install baseboards. Trim and baseboards are one of those things that make a huge difference in how your home looks. To install baseboard, it's really not that difficult, but there are a few things that you need to know first. One of them is that to do an outside corner of baseboard, you'll need to cut two 45-degree angles to make an outside corner. For a run of wall that happens to be longer than your baseboard, you'll need to do something called scarf joint. Inside corners will also require either two 45-degree angles met up together or one straight run of baseboard and something called a coped cut. With a coped cut, you still cut a 45-degree angle, but then you remove the piece so that the boards meet up evenly. For all the details on how to do this and how to measure for baseboards, visit our blog at homemadelovely.com, where you will find all the details on how to make those cuts, how to measure for baseboard, etc. In this video, we're going to show you how to install baseboards using a brad nailer. Of course, you can use other nails and a hammer or something else like adhesive as well, but we're going to show you with a brad nailer. So, the first thing you need to do is to use a brad nailer and nail the baseboards into the wall. Now, because there's a base plate on the bottom of this wall, we don't need to know where the studs are for attaching it. So, continue along the bottom of the baseboard, nailing at intervals of probably about a foot or a bit larger than a foot until you get to the end, and then go back and nail on the top part of the baseboard as well. This may or may not go into studs. If you're concerned about it, you can use a stud finder and make sure that you mark those there. After you put these nails in, you're going to want to caulk the baseboards. Now, to caulk the baseboards, you need to cut the caulking at a 45-degree angle so that it applies evenly. Then, you'll run a solid bead of caulking along the length of your baseboard. Don't worry if you have to stop partway across and start again. You'll smooth this out in the next step. But the trick is to make sure that you cut that caulking at a 45-degree angle. Continue along your baseboard until you've got a run of caulking all the way across. You can caulk any ends where they end as well if you'd like. Then, using your finger, go along the caulking that you've just applied while it's still damp and smooth it out. Your finger is a perfect shape for doing this because it gets it in the groove just right. As you're going, if you find that you get too much caulking built up on your finger, just switch fingers. Continue along until you've got a nice smooth line of caulking. Again, switch fingers as often as necessary. Make sure you work with the caulking while it's damp so that it's smooth and even. Once you get to the end, you can wipe your fingers on a paper towel, or if you run out of fingers and you've still got some to wipe, you can wipe your fingers on a paper towel. And then when you're finished, make sure you wash your hands thoroughly. The next step is to fill in any holes or marks or anything on the actual baseboards themselves. To do this, we like to use Drydex spackling. That's because we use MDF baseboards. If you're using wood baseboards, you'll want to use a wood filler that will be paintable. Of course, your caulking and this Drydex will be paintable so that you can paint it to match. So fill in any little grooves like where baseboards join on an outside corner if you've not gotten a perfect match. And also make sure that you fill in any nail holes as you go along as well. Go ahead and apply the Drydex or spackling compound, or if you're using wood baseboards, the wood filler, directly to the nail holes and then smooth out with a putty knife, making sure that you follow the profile of the baseboard to really get the Drydex or the filler in there well. Continue along the length of the baseboard until you've filled all the little holes. And then before you paint the baseboards, you're going to want to lay down some frog tape or other painter's tape. We like frog tape because it makes a really good seal. You apply it along the length of the baseboard on the floor, particularly if you have hardwood or laminate or even carpet, just apply it that way. And then just make sure that you tuck it under the edge of the baseboard a little bit to stop any extra spills. So apply that along the whole baseboard and tucking it underneath onto the floor. Get a really good tight seal there. And then mix your paint really, really well. You don't want to shake your paint because you'll get air bubbles in it, and those might apply to the baseboards as well. And then you just want to take a brush and gently brush on the paint on the length of the baseboards. Make sure you get the corners that you've just touched up, etc. Of course, before you do this, your spackling compound or wood filler should be sanded. We didn't show that part, but we did do that step. So make sure you sand it so it's nice and smooth. Get in the edges, and then once you've gotten past the start, make sure that you do nice long sweeping strokes so that you avoid brush marks in your paint. Continue along the whole length of the baseboard. Don't worry about getting it up on the wall a little bit, because we're going to touch up the walls after, and the rest of that caulking that we're painting as well. Once you finish painting the baseboards, peel up the painter's tape almost right away so that you don't get any stuck on there that will peel off of the paint off of the baseboard as well. Then you're ready to paint and touch up the wall above, coming down to meet the baseboard. To do that, you're going to want to use a nice angled brush. I like to use Purdy brushes most of the time because they tend not to lose their bristles in the paint. And then go edge and cut in right down to the top of the baseboard. Of course, if your walls have already been painted and you're just doing touch-up work, make sure you use a roller to blend in those paintbrush marks along the length of where you've installed the baseboards as well. You could, if you're not so comfortable cutting in, you could of course use painter's tape along the top of your baseboard as well once the paint is fully dry on your baseboards too. Once you're finished painting, you just let the paint dry and then you're all finished. Be sure to visit our other videos for more DIY and home decor ideas. Until next time!